Okay, so what this is our current balance experiment to test the magnetic field strength in a solenoid. Here's our experimental setup. We have our solenoid connected here through a variable resistor down to our power supply. So by running through the current through a solenoid, we're going to change the strength of the magnetic field inside the solenoid. We can change the current running through this solenoid by changing our variable resistor. The amount of current will be measured using this ammeter. Now, second to that, we have what we call our current balance. Current will run through this loop, through this part of the circuit, or this wire or length of wire, and back towards this part. Now, this part of the wire is perpendicular to the magnetic field produced by the solenoid. Now, by adjusting the current through this loop, we will be able to make a measurement as to the strength of the magnetic field inside the solenoid. You'll need to work out the calculations for that. Now, the first thing I need to do is put the balance inside the solenoid and then make sure that none of the two sides are not touching, so that there's very, very little friction on the balance. The next step then that I need to do is balance the balance using this slider here. So the first thing I'll need to do is, using this block of wood here and this line, I'm able to slide this along to find where the balance is. It's very close to this point here. I just need to make small adjustments. So I use my line as a measurement, and these are going to have to be very, very careful measurements. Very, very important that I get down to eye level with the balance to make sure that my measurements are accurate. I'm now going to take a small weight, which is just a piece of paper. You're going to have to measure the mass of that piece of paper, and I'm going to hang it on my balance. And of course now the balance is now hanging down. What I need to do then is run some current through my solenoid. So I'm going to turn this on and run current through the solenoid. I'm just going to quickly plug in the power supplies. Turn them on, and I now have current running in my solenoid, and I can measure the current off my ammeter. Now, of course, that doesn't adjust the balance because we have no current yet running through our current balance. When I turn the current balance on, you'll notice it flicks up. If I turn it off, it goes down the moment it flicks up because there's a large force on it. In order to balance the current balance, I need to adjust the current that runs through it. And if I'm very careful, I should be able to, getting down at eye level with my balance, I should be able to adjust the current balance so that it is then once again balanced. That means the force inside the solenoid created by the current running through the current balance and the magnetic field produced by the solenoid is equal to the weight of the paper on this end. If I know the weight of the paper, then I'll be able to determine the force in the solenoid, in the current balance. Knowing the force on the current balance, I'll be able to backwards calculate the magnetic field strength. Now, what I've got now is the current in my solenoid and the current in the electric balance. In order to make several measurements to get an accurate relationship, I can then reduce the current in my solenoid to set predetermined amounts in order to determine the amount of current that's required in the balance to rebalance that new magnetic field from the solenoid. Your task will be to use a range of different currents, at least 7, in the solenoid in order to create different magnetic field strengths. You'll then change the current in the current balance in order to be able to measure the magnetic field produced by the solenoid of different currents, to answer the aim, which is to determine the relationship between the current in a solenoid and the strength of the magnetic field that it produces. Thank you very much.